Hello and welcome as we continue along in our journey through this 11th episode now. We are currently out at sea making our way towards Panama, and the conditions have been a little rocky, but uh, they've been stable for the most part for the last couple days. Yeah, this is the 11th episode, and for some odd reason, the number 11 just reminds me of a video game actually that my younger brother used to play. I never played it, but I would watch him play. And it was Armored Core 2, I believe. And basically, you just controlled a robot and would go on missions or fight in a battle arena against other robots. And there were 50 of them, and you would fight one at a time and climb through the ranks. And I remember reading the descriptions for each robot, and rank number 11 was named number 1111 because he liked the number 1 so much that he preferred to be in rank 11 versus 1 because it had twice as as the number 1. So I thought that was a little unique, and that's why I remember it from episode 11. But maybe we can have a different type of 1 spelled W-O-N for this week's lottery ticket. I got 2 more tickets left, and I have $200 to make up. I wonder what the odds are for each ticket being a $100 win, which would bring us to dead even, break even prizes. I was given a 50-50 chance, so let's see if that holds true. Let's see if I get lucky. So we'll start with the bonuses as usual. Maybe we'll get a back-to-back winner, and maybe we'll get a good bonus win too. Let's see. Nothing on the bonuses, but not a huge surprise there. They're very difficult to win on, so let's see what we can get down below. Let's check out our numbers. Well, it is episode 11, and you got kind of a palindrome number going here, 31113. So maybe that is an indication of being lucky. And we do have 21 for blackjack, so I'm hopeful this may be a winning ticket. So let's find out. 37. For a second, I thought it might have been a 31. 37, 36, counting down. 66, not quite. And 69 between the 68 and 70, so got a little teaser there. 4, we had a 3, not quite. Although 4 always wins, right? 26, nope. 63, not quite. 29, I had 28, close. The answer to everything, not quite. We had a 41 and then a 14. 7, not lucky today. 44, nope. 12, well, we had the 11. We're getting close numbers, so maybe we'll hit one eventually. 64, nope. 6, nope. 40, nope. Getting all these close numbers, we're getting close. 7, nope. I think 47 used to be the channel that I would watch cartoons on when I was growing up, actually, for Nickelodeon. 1, nope. Well, we had the 11. 17, nope. 9, nope. 61, nope. 46, and it's starting to get down to the wire. 49, 43. Getting a lot of 40s, but not hitting anything. Down to our last line here. And then 24, we had a 23. Close. $19. Nope. 67. We're getting those around those numbers. Alright, so I guess you know what time it is. It's time for the clutch corner. So let's see what we could possibly win for today. Oh, another 5 million potential prize. Again, that would be so amazing. Like, I wouldn't even know what to say if I won that. And on the clutch corner. So let's see. Hold your breath. And it's a bust. What a shame. Alright, well, you can't win them all. And we didn't get back-to-back winners. But we have a big win that we have to try and get on our last ticket next week. So let's hope we go out with a bang. So let's get into our discussions today. I think we have a good amount to discuss, and I think we'll have a lot of fun. So let's see what we got. All right, hello and welcome. And today I thought I'd like to discuss morale. And morale is very important in any job that you find around the world. You got to be happy with what you do. And I think there's an added element of morale when it comes to shipping. Because you're out away at sea, you only have so much available to you. There's only so much where you can go. I know most ships have like recreational areas on board, like a lounge or a gym, or you can go out on the weather decks and just stare at the water. Or some ships, like the one that I'm on right now, actually has a swimming pool. It is almost never used. I think I've only ever seen one person use it on the ships that I've been on for work that have had swimming pools. And they also rarely keep it filled, so it can't even be used anyway if we wanted to use it. But being able to maintain morale can be difficult at times, and it comes in many different forms. Obviously, it can take place in the shape of food, like when I get care packages from my parents. Definitely enjoy the candy and snacks that they send me on occasion. Definitely entertainment as far as like watching TV. I know in the lounge they have a hard drive there that has thousands and thousands of television shows for you to watch on the television whenever you want, which is nice. And I know on some ships before, we had these massive hard drives with terabytes of data of movies and TV shows. On one of my last ships, they had a giant like bookcase with just hundreds of thousands of DVDs on it, and unfortunately that last ship that I was on, that got scrapped. I can only imagine what they did with all those DVDs. Like, you couldn't even put them in a dollar bin in any store nowadays. They'd probably have to go into like a 5-cent bin just to get people enticed to maybe buy it. I mean, DVDs at this point in our age of technology would probably be more geared towards collectors of the DVDs versus anybody else who is more modern and just has electronic copies of movies, TV shows, and whatever else that they store on hard drives. But I remember going through school and I saw someone with this shirt, and it was really interesting, and I wish I knew where I could find it. I could probably find it online, but at the time I was looking through bookstores and just local stores for this shirt, and I wanted to get one, but I couldn't find one. But it had said that the beatings will continue until the morale improves. And it just reminded me so much of indoctrination and going through my first year in college, because I had no privileges. I had to square my corners, I had to run everywhere, I had to do serve sandwiches, and it was just a real hard way of life for the first year, and it just made me feel that way, especially on a ship as a wiper, that every day I felt like I was getting beaten down, and it would continue until my morale improved. But obviously, how can it improve if you're getting knocked down every day? So, and it had a picture of a skull and crossbones, because that's essentially what it was. It was a never-ending cycle of just getting hit hard every single day, and I wanted to get one of those shirts, and maybe I will eventually. I'll just go online and look for one. But definitely, food is a huge morale boost when it's good quality and good variety. When I was on MSC ships, though, believe it or not, one of the biggest staples of good comfort food that really boosted morale on a ships was, believe it or not, hot dogs, of all things, right? So I remember on one Navy ship when I was over in Italy, they served hot dogs like maybe once a month, maybe once every other month. It was rare, but when they did, everybody went ballistic. It was like Christmas. I remember standing in the mess deck line, and I was only a few people away from the counter, and I kept thinking, like, are there going to be any hot dogs left when I get there? Because I saw people walking into the mess deck from the counter with like 3 or 4 hot dogs, and they would eat them in one sitting, or they'd get like 4 or 5 of them and eat 2 of them and then bring the other ones to their room to have later. Everybody just wanted to enjoy that simple food, and it just reminds me of that. And I'm right there with them. I remember one time, it was really lucky, they put out a platter of like 20 of them as leftovers, and I'm like, how did you guys have leftovers? Everybody always wants these things. So I remember grabbing like 10 of them and bringing them back to my room and eating them over the next couple of days, because I knew I would not see hot dogs again for like at least another month. But also, being over in Italy, I had access to a bunch of great other foods too, like pizza and pasta and wine, whenever I went ashore locally. So definitely a big morale boost there. But of course, what comes with great morale also has bad morale, and I do have an unfortunate sea story regarding that. Uh, another component of morale on a ship is email and internet. And unfortunately, on every ship that I've been on, it has been pretty weak. Probably because other people are trying to use it. And it's even more unfortunate when I have to pay for it. There are some internet services on ships that you have to pay for. But for the most part, it is pretty weak. You can only really get away with using it for email or simple phone calls, and maybe 1 or 2 other websites. If you try to watch YouTube on them, it is really difficult. The streaming is very poor. But going back to email, it is definitely a morale booster to be able to talk with friends and family back home while you're out at sea or away in a different port or country. And I remember I was on my training ship for Mass Maritime, and they had an email service that you had to pay for, but you were able to write home. And I only had like maybe an hour a day of free time because I was just so busy standing watch in the engine room, or doing maintenance out on deck with the welder, or going to class and learning about engineering. So I only had maybe 1 hour a day to just like run to the mess deck and grab something quick to eat or a snack, and then check my email, and then have to get back to work or whatever my assignment was for that day. And for the longest time, I remember writing home but getting no responses. And I'm like, well, why aren't my parents writing to me? And it didn't dawn on me until after like 6 or 7 emails over like maybe 2 weeks that I finally wrote in my email, please write back. So I was so desperate for a message from home, something to read and take my mind away from this difficult lifestyle for a little while. And it turns out that my parents were writing to my home email and not my ship email, because I had the same name for both of them. The only thing that was different were the extensions at the end. My home email address had spcglobal.net, but my ship email had like I think it was mma.usa.mil or something. But the first part of each email was exactly the same. So they thought they were reaching out to me by writing to my home address, but no, it was my ship address that they had to write to. And it just made me wonder, why couldn't they just hit reply when they got a message from me? But it was an honest mistake, and it was all explained, and we got over the confusion. But I just remember for those 2 weeks when I was getting no email, it was just so depressing, because when I sign on, you actually see everybody's name and all the emails they got. And when the number of emails that you have in your inbox lit up in a bold font, it meant you got a new email. And for those days, I would see everybody else get bold fonts, but mine just remained a simple font, which means no new emails and nothing new to read, and it was just devastating. But it was a hard life lesson learned, and I was able to get over it and just move on there. But again, another form of entertainment that we have for morale boost is video games, and you've seen my controllers in the other episodes that I play video games here. I have the Nintendo Switch, and I have a Super Nintendo controller for a Mister emulator that the first engineer actually gave for me, and I've actually been playing a lot of Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis games with this lately, just for the nostalgic purposes. I mean, these are games that I've played and beaten hundreds of times, but they're just so much fun. The replay value is just incredible. And some Genesis games are actually pretty tough to play with this, because this is for Super Nintendo, but the Sega Genesis has like 3 buttons that go across, and being able to do it in a square pattern with 4 buttons here is actually difficult to coordinate. And but I've been able to manage and play them fairly well. And then the Nintendo Switch. Just a quick interesting story about this controller, actually, because I remember I was looking for a Nintendo Switch. I was ready to buy one. But when I looked at the original consoles and the colors for the controllers, I think, because you can see that these are bright red, the controllers that came with the original one were blue and pink, I think. And I felt like those two colors kind of clashed. It didn't really sit well. And then as I was walking through the store, I saw the this handheld controller. I just took the joysticks out. It is sold just like this, and this is a picture of Mario and the hat for Super Mario Odyssey. Great game that I played quite a few times, but I think I would have enjoyed a Super Mario Galaxy 3 a lot more, and I still hope that they do make a third Super Mario Galaxy, because I feel like the third game of any Mario series has been the best. Just like Super Mario Brothers for the regular Nintendo, I think a Super Mario Galaxy 3 would be amazing, because I absolutely loved Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, so I hope they do make a third one. But anyway, when I saw this in the red color, I was like, I need to find controllers that match this red color. And they actually had a special limited edition Nintendo Switch being sold with Super Mario Odyssey, and it came with these red controllers. And I was like, I gotta get this set. But of course, you go to a store and they're nowhere to be found. And the store sold them for $300. And I was like, well, I'm sure I can go online and buy one for $300. And that was, at the time, the limit that I was willing to pay for it. But for the longest time, there were plenty of copies available on eBay for purchase, but the minimum price was like $450. So yeah, they were charging a collector's price for it, and at the time I wasn't willing to pay for it. So I actually decided to wait a few months to see if the price would eventually come down. And after a few months, it didn't really. I think the cheapest I saw eventually was $400, and I still wasn't ready to buy. But eventually I did get lucky, sort of. I mean, it wasn't the $300 price I was willing to pay, but I think it was $350 with free shipping. So that was still a fairly decent deal, and I decided to go for it. And then I was able to finally pair the red controllers with this red controller, and it looks so much better than if you had blue and pink on here. And I just love the color red. It is my favorite color. And I brought a Nintendo Switch with me on this trip. On a past trip, when I was with MSC, I actually brought my PlayStation 3, and I played the Dead Space series on it. And great series, by the way. I wonder if they'll ever come out with a Dead Space 4. But if they do, it would probably be with different characters in a different setting, or storyline, or mission, or purpose, or whatever. But I remember playing hardcore mode on it, and I left it plugged in and on for weeks at a time, because hardcore mode only allowed you to save your game 3 times, and you had to really plan out those saves. And when I couldn't get to a save, I didn't want to turn it off and lose all my progress, so I would just leave it plugged in, turned on. I would go to duty, I would get some sleep, and then I'd get up and play more of it, and just continue until I got to that next save, and hopefully do so without dying, because once you die, you go back to your last save, and It was a really tough game, especially on hardcore mode where one enemy hit will probably kill you. So you had to really plan out your route, your travel. But I thought I'd change things up a little bit and go into some random facts. Who doesn't like to hear random facts? I think they're pretty fun and interesting. Uh, I tried to base most of these around water since I live and work on and sail on water. So, first one is less than 2% of all water on Earth is fresh water, and that makes a lot of sense. And I believe it. In fact, it might even be less than that. It might even be less than 1%, because you have your giant oceans all around the world. They're all salt water, so you can't directly drink from it, or else you'll actually dehydrate yourself by putting that amount of salt into your system. But you do have your freshwater lakes and rivers, found in the world. As rare as they are, you can drink directly from them and you'll be fine. They are freshwater. And we actually make fresh water from salt water through evaporation. And there are three methods to that I'm aware of that ships do. You can do evaporation with a Nyrex design distiller, which basically heats up the water and creates steam, and then it goes through a demister and then a condenser where it condenses that mist, that steam, back into fresh water, and then we use and drink that water on the ship. Use it for cleaning and whatever other clean water services that we need it for. And then there's the flash type distillation, where we put the water under a vacuum and we heat it above its flash point, because by having it under a vacuum it reduces the flash point of that water. So if we heat it to like 150 degrees and then send it into a vacuum chamber and its flash point is like 100 degrees, it will instantly flash to steam. And then again, we send it through a demister and a condenser, and we collect the fresh water and we discharge the brine, or the leftover salt water that doesn't flash. We send that directly overboard. And then the final method is reverse osmosis. And that is basically using high pressure to press salt water against a diaphragm or a membrane, and fresh water will seep through it and collect on the other side of this barrier, this membrane, this rubber diaphragm. I forget what the material is made out of, but it uses high pressure to press the salt water against this, and fresh water comes out. Now, there are some pros and cons to that, and that it creates fresh water very quickly and immediately. It's for immediate use, but it doesn't filter out all the salinity completely. It actually filters it out to around 50 ppm. And while the other methods of distillation will actually get down to 1 ppm, which is parts per million. So for every million gallons of water, for example, there's 1 gallon of salt water in it. It's still very, very fresh water. And I actually learned from one of my professors in school that the human tongue will taste the salt water in water if it's 200 ppm or higher. So if you had 1 million gallons of water and you dumped 150 gallons of salt water into it and you drank it, you actually couldn't taste the salt water in it, according to what I learned from this professor. I don't know how true that is, because sometimes, I mean, because I drink bottled water so much, I could actually tell the difference between different brands of bottled water and water that you would get from a tap or a faucet or a well or whatever. And drinking the water on a ship, even though it's about 10 ppm or less, I can still faintly taste the salt content in it. So I don't know if that's just because I drink water so much, or maybe our salinity cells are giving us false readings and we're actually producing water over 200 ppm. I don't know. But anyway, back to our random facts. It is said that dolphins actually jump out of the water and through the air to conserve energy, because it is easier to move through the air than it is through the water. And that makes sense, and I believe that. And sailing out at sea for as long as I haven't really seen much marine life. I've only seen, I have seen a few dolphins. I've never seen a whale, and I'd be absolutely fascinated and terrified if I ever saw one, because they're just magnificent giant beasts, and I don't think there are any other living creatures on Earth that are as big as these creatures. So to see one, even if I was far away, would just let my imagination run wild, and I'd be terrified of it if I was actually like within 5 feet of one. And I have heard stories of people getting swallowed by them and then getting spit up or whatever. I think that happened to someone just a year ago, and that's pretty crazy and terrifying. Like, I wouldn't even know what to do with myself if that ever happened to me. To be swallowed by another living creature and then spit up and actually live to tell the tale. But probably because I don't spend a whole lot of time out on deck. I'm usually down in the engine room working. I don't see a whole lot of marine life, but I have, listened to the mates from time to time talk about how they've seen sharks and they have to dodge whales when they're, directing the ship. And they've seen dolphins all the time, and they also see like jellyfish, octopus, and other marine life. But I've only really seen dolphins. I haven't seen any sharks. I haven't seen any whales. I have seen seals, and I think I might have seen some manatees. I think, I don't remember. I don't know what they're called. Maybe they're called sea lions. Maybe I'm confusing them. But moving on. Um, Interesting story here. Uh, it says that diet soda will actually float in water, whereas regular soda will actually sink in water. Like if you have a cooler full of ice and water, and you throw cans of soda in there, if you have regular soda, it will sink to the bottom of the cooler if it's mostly water. But if you have diet soda, it will float to the top. And I think I've seen that in some coolers at some parties that I've been to. And I think the reason for that is the level of carbonation in the cans. And diet soda has significantly much more carbon dioxide than does regular soda. Because I know I've had diet soda before, and because there's just so much carbonation and gasiness to it that after even one or two sips, I'm burping all the gas. And it wasn't long before I learned of a challenge that was going on around the internet a couple years ago and I don't know if anyone's ever completed it, and I think it's impossible, but they're saying that you are to drink a 2-liter bottle of diet soda and not burp while drinking it, but then wait 5 minutes after you finish it before burping, and to see if anybody can do it. And I don't think it's possible, because like I said, after a few sips of any diet soda that I've had, I'm burping out all the gas. So, and I think I saw only one video of someone attempting to do it, and I think he got a third of the way through the 2-liter bottle before he made this massive, loud, long burping noise. And it just reminded me of The Simpsons with the film festival, and Sherman being a cameo guest star for the episode. And he had a quick belching contest with Homer Simpson, and he won by belching so loud that it set off a car alarm. And believe it or not, I have met and know someone who can burp just as loud, as intense as Jay Sherman did in The Simpsons. Like when I first heard him burp this, I was immediately reminded of that episode. But I was like, how on earth can someone burp so immensely like that? And I knew if I attempted that challenge, that 2-liter diet soda challenge, if I drank even a third of that soda, I know I would probably be burping just as heavily and intensely and loudly as Jay Sherman did in that episode. And I'm hoping I'm not grossing out anybody by talking about burping, but it's better that I'm talking about gas coming out this way than the other way. So I just thought that was a really funny story, and I can't believe that there's somebody out there who can burp like that. If there's ever any burping contest, I hope he signs up, because he will win all of them for sure. And just a few more random facts, and then maybe we'll end with a sea story. Hot water is heavier than cold water, and I can see how that would play out. I mean, I don't know the science 100% surrounding it, but yeah, that makes sense. And I'm not sure about the science about this either, but it says that an iceberg has more heat than a lit match. And it may have something to do with how much energy or heat it can conserve as far as temperature differentials. Not so much heat as the heat that a match would get off, but just the amount of temperature differential between the water that it sits in and the iceberg itself. I think I'm probably totally dead wrong on that, but that's just what I think. Again, I don't know the science behind it, but for a book with thousands of random facts, and I guess having been researched by many teams of people, I guess I'll just take their word for it. And if you yelled for 8 years, 7 months, and 6 days, you would have produced enough sound energy to heat one cup of coffee. And I thought that was really interesting. And I guess, for those who don't have their cup of coffee in the morning, that's how angry and grumpy they can be. Like, they can scream for that long because they want that cup of coffee. Some people can't live without it. I see memes of coffee and their effects, whether they have it or not, on Facebook all the time from various people. And it's funny and hilarious. I like reading them. But yeah, coffee is another important element for people, probably to boost their morale throughout their work days. So I think we'll have some fun with a final sea story. This was when I think I was in Bulgaria or maybe Georgia several years ago, back when I worked with MSC. But somebody on board had their birthday, and his girlfriend came to visit him, and we all went out and had dinner. And his girlfriend actually spoke the language in that country, and I pulled her aside and I told her, "Hey, let's play kind of like a birthday prank on your boyfriend here. How about you talk to the waitress and have her bring us round of shots, vodka shots, and we'll all celebrate and have a couple shots with your boyfriend for his birthday. But instead of all of us having vodka shots, only one of them would be vodka for the birthday guy, and the rest of them would be water for the rest of us. So we wouldn't be getting drunk as we drink it, and we would be kind of goading or baiting or even trolling the birthday guy, saying that, oh, you can't hold your liquor, you gotta beat all of us." And he was kind of a big drinker. He could hold his liquor quite well, and he was not one to be bested by his friends. So whenever there was a drinking challenge come up, he was up and ready for it. And we would actually have a small umbrella parasol in the shot of vodka to let us know that that was the one that was vodka and the rest of them were water, because they do look identical. So they would bring round after round after round of all these shots, and we'd all take it, and we would all pretend to wince or go ugh, because of the strong taste of vodka. We would all pretend to do that, and while the birthday guy is getting more and more drunk, we're all just sitting there kind of laughing at him. And he's thinking like, "Oh, I gotta beat these guys, I gotta keep drinking more, I'm gonna show them I'm tougher than all of them." And eventually, after like 11 shots, he was like, "All right, that's no more." And then on the way back to the ship, he's vomiting his brains out all over the city. And we're all just laughing at him. We eventually came clean and told him what we had done, and he was a good sport about it. He had a good laugh, and he was like, "Wow, that's one birthday that I'll never forget, but also can't remember because I drank so much." And it also remembers a time when I think I was on a ship over in Norway with a bunch of Navy personnel. I was on the SS Wright, and we had just crossed the Atlantic Ocean, and we were in the ocean for like a good 20 days. I think we really slow-balled it across the Atlantic. And I remember once we were granted liberty, all the Navy personnel went aboard, or went ashore, and I went ashore really quick just to get dinner. But on the way back, I heard stories of how there was like a river of vomit down one of these streets, because there was several bars that they all went to, and they all got so drunk that all of them were like vomiting at once, and that there was like literally a stream of vomit coming down the street. And it just reminded me of that friend that we played that birthday prank on. So I think that'll do it for this week. And the other day I was watching Terminator 2, which I think is arguably one of the best sequels to any movie series of all time. And having watched that movie, I just have to go ahead and say it. Hasta la vista, baby. All right, see you next time.